Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love talking about? Games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me. And that's not the 3,847 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. Everyone who celebrates it, happy early Merry Christmas here tomorrow. I am looking forward to it myself, and I hope all of you, if you celebrate it, have a great one. And even if you don't, I hope you have a great day. Go get your Chinese food, all that kind of good stuff. But for today, we are taking a look at another 10 Xbox 360 games. I've been seeing some fun comments where, yes, my name is now the Xbox 360 guy, and I will admit some of the games this week are some dirt commons. Once again, busy season, and also one of these games I really enjoyed so much that I couldn't put it down. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out. There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
Alright, so the first game I want to talk about today is one that I have talked about before, but I have never played any of the games on it, and it is a compilation. The compilation is something I actually bought on Steam back in the day because I wanted it to play, I believe, Counter-Strike or something, but it came out on the 360. And it's funny, I knew of this before I knew how important the games on it were, and that is the Orange Box. So this is a 4-game collection on the 360. I think it only came out on the 360. Maybe it's on the PS3 as well, I'm not sure. But it has Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2, I guess Episode 2, the original Portal, and then Team Fortress 2. So I went through and I tried out all 3 of them. Now I'm going to lump Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 2 into the same game, because more or less it's a continuation, and Half-Life 2 Part 3 never coming out because Valve hates games that have a 3 on the end. But I started with Portal. As someone who loves Portal 2, it was nice going back to the original one, and it's just more Portal 2. Like, if you haven't played the original Portal, feels identical to the second one. I know the second one goes off in crazy different directions with Gladys and different materials you can bounce off of. The first Portal is a very tight, short experience where it introduces you to the sort of mind-melding nature of the, of the Portal system. And from what I recall, it was a hack that they had off of the Half-Life 2 engine, and that's how Portal came to be. And this became this really fun game. Super solid, really enjoyed playing it. I think you can get the first Portal on modern systems still to this day, but really liked actually checking it out because I haven't ever put it in and played it. Now, another game that I've heard to death about is Team Fortress 2, and that largely comes from back when I used to play the original Overwatch. So in 2016, I did play the first Overwatch. I was a Mercy main. I really enjoyed being the heal bot that no one could take down. And then every once in a blue moon, pulling out my pistol, getting an easy kill, or rezzing the whole team when things were dire. Well, from what I've heard, Team Fortress 2 is more or less the predecessor to that style of game. However, without an Xbox Live account, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't set up computers in it, so I started a match where I was in it, and it looks like you can capture nodes, and there's different loadouts depending on the kind of person you're playing as, and different archetypes, defense, offensive, support, that kind of thing. So I can see how it is so similar to Overwatch, but no way to play it solo. So I didn't really put much time into that one. But the one that I had the best experience with, which is a game that, I know, shocking, I have not played Half-Life, and I have not played Half-Life 2. I know, take away my gamer card, but I will tell you, I always love going and playing these legendary games because with a fresh take, however, someone who is very familiar with games, been playing them his whole life, it's always interesting to see the appeal, if it does hold up, if it is tried and true. And I gotta tell you, popping in popping in Half-Life 2, having no direction, no tutorial, no anything, but immediately gripped by the story. You get on a train. From the first Half-Life, I know nothing about it other than there's some aliens involved, but in this one you're on a train, you go to this area, you're funneled in and out through these creepy guys with masks on, and they don't say anything, they just literally, the pathing, they block ways, you go there, so there's no map, there's no waypoint, but you know where to go. And then as you're going through these waypoints, you get into a room with a dude who turns out is a double agent, who then releases you and then says, all right, you got to escape. Oh, you got to figure it out. And so immediately I'm like, how the hell am I going to figure this out? So I walk back into the train station. One of the bad guys starts chasing me. So I run out of the building. I somehow manage to lose him. And then I'm in this town that reminds me a lot of the opening of Shadowrun in the Super Nintendo. So I'm just wandering around and I start noticing there's these really bright blue highlighted areas. And so I start investigating over there. Leads me to another area. Finally, I find this slum, not slum, but this apartment building. That's what it is. Apartment building that's being in a raid. And so I find my way in there. People are saying, here, come in here. I walk through. I'm avoiding the cops. Once again, I'm just wandering. This is a big open scape. How I found my way into this right section, I don't know if I'm in the right place, but I managed to escape, get all the way up to the roof. I get an achievement for escaping this raid. I go down into some stairs. They break under me, and then I get attacked, and then I wake up, and I'm being rescued by somebody. Now, I don't know if this is one of those things where if I had failed during the raid, if I would have woken up in the same scenario, but already I'm hooked. I'm interested in the character, I'm interested in the world, and I've got the confidence that I can navigate it myself without needing to be held throughout the entire experience. Just like I got in Fear. And it's crazy how this 2005, 2006, 2004, this era of gaming really was the last gasp of what I would say is competent video game logic before it got so mainstream that we then had to then start putting in really obvious, here's where to go, to the point where it didn't make sense it didn't make sense to have these big open areas where you could get lost because it was just, well, it's wait, no one's going to see it. Versus in these games, it felt rewarding. It felt like you accomplished something that no one else had done, even though the game design is designed so cleverly that someone who knows how to play games can follow it, see it, notice things, and then lead to themselves. Anyways, makes me want to play Half-Life 2 a lot, and I can understand why it's such a legendary game, because that was such a great intro to it, especially because the first 5 minutes I'm like, man, I don't want to really play this, and then I'm locked in. This was incredible. All right, another game that I have played before. This was one of the first games I got on the 360 because I loved Burnout 3, and that game is Burnout Revenge. Now, this is not as good as Burnout 3 in my opinion, but it is probably my favorite Burnout outside of Burnout 3. I tried Burnout Paradise a few weeks ago, did not like it. This is the Burnout game to get on the 360. I do have the Platinum Hits Edition, which, you know, it didn't bother me back in the day. It bothers me a little bit now. I prefer having the regular green case. But it really plays identically to Burnout 3, just with better graphics on more modern hardware. And one I would highly recommend picking up if you enjoy racing games, because it's fun. It's fun to go out and... I always say it's not quite Mario Kart because you don't get power-ups, but you are encouraged to drive fast. You get boost by driving dangerously, and then when you wreck the opponents, especially when you can wreck them into big set pieces, sometimes you get some pretty fun, some random kills or special kills that you don't see all the time. All right, another game that I had played before that, to be honest with you, I don't remember any of it. This was the last one I played of this series while it was current. It kind of killed my joy of it, and that was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. To be honest, the only thing I really remember about this game was the ad campaign where they had a bunch of celebrities playing in it. I had missed out on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 just because I was getting over the series, but with this one, I wanted to take a chance on it. I believe Jen, when we were first dating, she bought me this game because she's wonderful. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like the multiplayer. I was over it. The campaign was fun and all, but I needed more. Like, this is where it's like, okay, I've enjoyed the Michael Bay blockbusters as much as I can. Now I want to go watch something that's got a little bit more substance. And so this was the last one I picked up. I didn't get Ghost, Advanced Warfare, and I still haven't to this day. I mean, I played Advanced Warfare the other day, and it was pretty good. But yeah, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, I think they even remastered it lately, maybe? It's not a great game in my opinion. And yeah, very forgettable. More Call of Duty. This is one made by, I think it was, at a certain point, there was Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, and then Treyarch, and this one's made by Sledgehammer. And I think Sledgehammer was one of the ones where people weren't all that hot on them. And yeah, just not a great game. Alright, one that was a little bit of a surprise. So I've heard the History Channel games on the 360 are fun. So I tried the Medieval Warfare one a few weeks back and did not like it at all. So I'd held off on playing this other one I got, which was Legends of War Patton. Now this is more what I'm talking about. So in this game, you control a squad of soldiers in a top-down view that's similar to, say, something like an XCOM, where you can go, you can take cover, you'll get a certain amount of movement points, and then a certain amount of those points can be converted to shooting bullets. Now, your gun has a range, but you also can shoot beyond that range and pretty reliably hit your target, at least on the lower difficulty levels. But the catch is that you have limited ammunition. So once you run out of the ammunition, I think you're just, the characters is kind of over at that point. And then you will take damage throughout the levels, but you can also find health throughout the levels as well. So it's that top-down, not quite isometric view, very XCOM-like, where you can rotate the battlefield and tactically plan things. Nowhere in the same vein as an XCOM, but for a game that I didn't know much about, especially because the other history games I think are more in this style, I really enjoyed it. Not gonna lie, I made a mistake. So you have to deploy your units, and I accidentally just deployed one unit in the first match, and so I had one dude basically just going and John McClaning 20 Germans and killing them. And I actually had a good time playing it. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was great, but not something I'd recommend, but one that I think, unlike the other game where I just want to kick it out of my collection now, I don't like it, this is one I do like and I could see myself playing more of. Now, another series that I've never played before, the only time I've ever had any experience with this game is that there was a job interview I had once for, I can't remember the name of the company, it was some gaming company in San Jose, and I went in and I made the mistake of saying I had a photographic memory when I don't. So I have a very, very good recall. I have a very good memory, but I'm not, like show me an image and then take it away and say, tell me everything on that image. I'm not that level of Rain Man, but my family had always said I had a photographic memory, so it just got one of those things where I would repeat it ad nauseum. And so they basically tested me on it, and they showed me the poster for a game in the Call of Juarez series, and then took it away and said, all right, tell me everything on that poster that was there. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I never heard from that job again. But speaking of that game series, Call of Juarez Bound in Blood is the second game in the series. There's actually 4 of them. I was not aware. I think all 4 of them are on the 360, and it's made by a company called Techland. I think these are the guys who did Nailed, which was one of the best games I've played as far as hidden gems go on the 360, a really fun ATV game. Not the case on this one, and this is the one that reviewed the best of the 4. So this is a prequel to the first game. It takes place in around the Civil War, slightly after the Civil War, but you start off and you're playing as the Confederates going against the Yankees, which that was a bold decision back then. And it also has that classic 2009 non-linear storytelling that we keep seeing in all of these games, where it shows a moment where it looks like the brothers are betraying each other, and then it goes back in time to when they were in the Civil War and when they saved each other. Fun enough combat, though you're in the 1800s, but you're cocking your gun sideways with a pistol that seems a little unusual. Your guns run out of ammunition super quickly, which is annoying. There is a fun Red Dead Redemption style bullet time mechanic where you can activate it and then take out all the enemies on the screen. It's similar to how Gun works, which made me think this was the same people who made Gun, but it's not. Now, it's not as good as Red Dead Redemption. Obviously, they kind of set the standard on that, I would imagine, at least based on ones I've played. And then another thing the game does is you can have 2 pistols out simultaneously, and because the same button that is used to aim down sights is also used to fire the left gun, they then change it up so that there is a floating trigger point that will aim at the enemies for you. So almost like an auto aim assist, kind of the way that in GoldenEye worked. And it shows a little crosshair of it, and so it allows you to dispatch enemies far easier. It's actually pretty fun, but it's just not great because it's not quite a cover-based shooter. So it allows you to get in the cover, but it's not quite clear when you are in cover. And then once you are, you can use the right stick to angle yourself around it back and forth. But altogether, it is just not very smooth. It's a pretty clunky way of handling things. And then I gotta say, I'm not giving these games my full effort all the time, but the first stage I found was pretty difficult. There were some things that, you had to be more deliberate with your movement and more careful than I would imagine a game like this would be. And if already I'm struggling on the normal mode in the first stage, not to just go gung-ho, blazing, killing this and that, it has me thinking that the rest of the game might be like that too, and then that probably helps color some of those poor reviews because they give you a tough scenario, and then the tools that you have to deal with that scenario are not great. There's a lot of blur in the background. There's a lot of, in the effort to make the game more cinematic and immersive, it also makes it harder to play. So it's kind of a give and take. And there was one section where I just kept getting blown up by grenades. The checkpoints are not generous. And I just lost interest with it. So I didn't even make it past the first true stage. Because I was just like, you know what? I'm already this sour on it. I don't want to see more of it. I'll give the other games a shot if I ever come across them. But yeah, I can see why the series is not all that fondly remembered. But the fact that there's 4 of them, someone must have bought them. So let me know if you like that series, if I should give it more of a college try. Now, a series that I have heard is amazing, and I can confirm after playing the first one, was great. This game is the sequel, and by all accounts is the best in the series. It even made a top 100 games you must play before you die list, which a lot of people thought was kind of ridiculous. But hey, the game, Army of Two, the 40th Day. And yes, I know this is another Platinum Hits Edition. I played the first Army of Two, absolutely loved it, even though I played it by myself. And in this game, you're still playing as Rios and Salem. It's the same gritty style. This game even gives you a little bit of morality choices where you can approach different scenarios either more in a Paragon or Renegade style. So early on, you can sneak up on captains and hold them hostage and then tie up his goons and then tie him up. Or you can hold him, execute the goons, execute the guy, and then you lose a morality scale. Now, how that affects anything, I don't know. There's also a later choice where you're given the option to essentially murder one of your mercenary comrades to take his portion of the loot. And also the game allows just one of you to choose. So this is where I think could be a lot of fun in co-op, is that one of you can decide for the other one, oh no, we're going to murder this guy, and the other guy has to go along with it. Or the other guy's going to be like, oh, we're not going to do it, and the other guy has to go along with it. So they really built in a lot of fun co-op banter in that. And I gotta say, as much as I enjoyed the first one, this added morality system really makes this game a cut above the other one, and I can understand why. This is the type of game that will have its fans. So it's hard to get a sequel, especially of a game that kind of looks like a knockoff of something like Gears of War, and then there's also Kane and Lynch, which is easy to confuse for it. And also it has that's just a fun co-op game, but man, I can see someone has to be a tremendous fan of this game, kind of like how I am a fan of the game Gladius, where if you know, you know, and this one looks to be one of those, so highly recommend picking this one up. I would love to play this one co-op with someone at some point, if I ever had some friends, but hey, one of these days. Now, I didn't know there was a third game. So there is a third game in the Army of Two series, which unfortunately killed the whole series. And after playing it, which I played this one before the 40th Day, which was probably a good thing, because Army of Two, the Devils Cartel, I did not really care for. They replaced Rios and Salem with two nameless guys called Alpha and Beta, and the whole purpose was so that you could see yourself in the character, which is not the right message. I'm telling you guys. I don't know about you, but I play video games because I like emulating as the character, seeing myself as the character, or just enjoying how that character handles things. I don't need to see myself in games. I don't need to see myself in movies. I don't like creating my own character. I want to know what the game design and the story design chose for me. So having these blank canvases meant nothing. All it did is meant that there was less... There was less draw to playing as them, and then Rios and Salem are in the game. They actually help you in the first mission, and it didn't feel as good. Yes, it had the same kind of one guy can get aggro, one guy cannot, but there wasn't the morality choices, and I don't know, it felt rushed. It felt like a game that did not have as much care behind it. It felt like it was being cashed in to try and, there's probably some online multiplayer component to it, I would imagine. No, not really. Wow. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that one, honestly. And it kind of killed the series. There hasn't been another one since, other than those 3 games. Did not like it. If you're going to play the Army of 2 games, get the first 2. Third one, you can skip it unless you really like it. Like, I could still see it being fun with a buddy. But obviously, this would not be the one to start with. Start with the other. In fact, probably start with 40th Day, although the first one's really damn solid too. All right, last few games here. I mean, this is a dang boneheaded obvious one, but we'll talk about it. So, one of the games I played this week, I played maybe after I played 6 or 7 games, and I had such a damn fun time with it that I'm like, okay, I'm just playing this the rest of the week. So what else can I talk about that I've covered or that I've played in the past? So that's why I included a few other games this week that I hadn't intended on it, but one of these games I enjoyed so much that I literally played it all day Friday, all day Saturday. But this is not that game. This is a game that was big in college. It was finally the Xbox 360's game outside of Gears of War that everyone was waiting for, that made those Xbox Live subscriptions worth it, and that was Halo 3. And when I tell you this game was an event when it came out, it was an absolute event. If you had a friend who had a 360, that was it. I mean, people would go and buy their own damn controllers. You had mountains of people with 4 players. You would go and play the campaign, but play the multiplayer. Now, I was always more of a fan of the multiplayer at this time than the campaigns. Ironically, I'd probably be far more interested in the campaigns, but whenever I hear about people playing Halo on Legendary mode, it just doesn't seem like all that much fun to me. I don't like being held up in a corner and then slowly but surely chipping away at something. I much preferred the online multiplayer where you could go out and, dominate the other team or be the best person on your team. And the sword was just as incredible. This was before they had the perk system that they stole from Call of Duty, so it was the last really pure version of the Halo combat. Even though I like Reach, I probably prefer Reach, but there is something special about Halo 3. There was so much support for it. Tons of online maps. I think this is the one where the hammer ball game came in through the Forge mode, which was a lot of damn fun. And just a really, really fond memory, great experience. I never played ODST. I don't even really know what ODST changed. And I did get over it too. I mean, at this time I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft, but that one, great game. And then the other game that we're talking about that I haven't played in years, but I played a lot of this with my older brother, and that is Major League Baseball 2K11. So, context here, I am from the San Francisco Bay Area. The SF Giants won the 2010 World Series, and ironically, that year in baseball, because I was a big Colts fan who lost the Super Bowl to the Saints in January or February 2010, I was so upset. I wanted to drown myself in another sport, so I picked up baseball, and I watched almost every single game of the 2010 season, which, bear in mind, the Giants had never won a World Series in SF. The last time they'd won one was back in, I think, the 50s, or at least the last time they'd been in one, other than the one they lost in 2002, which still gives me nightmares. But after they won that World Series, my brother and I, who watched a lot of that season, we wanted to, because I just got him back in the video games with Left 4 Dead, he picked this up unbeknownst to me, and me and him played the entire 2011 SF Giants season, which went a hell of a lot better than the Giants 2011 season did. And it's a fun, as someone who loves baseball stars on the NES but couldn't really get into too many of these simulation baseball games, this was a fun one. I mean, we used to play this all the time, and we would do essentially hookah nights. If you guys know about hookah, the flavored tobacco and the big apparatus. So we would play together. We would take turns on innings. So one inning I'd be offense and defense. One inning he'd be offense and defense. So it became a pretty good co-op experience that way for us going through a season mode. And while having the hookah going, it let the other person have something to do. And we did this for a long time. You know, like each one of those games was a 9-inning game. We played an actual 162-inning season, went to the playoffs, won the World Series, and is just a very competent baseball game. We didn't go about making our own roster. We didn't really do many roster moves. I think we tried to get Carlos Ortega, whatever, not Galarraga, Carlos Ortiz, I think, because in the 2011 season, Buster Posey got injured, and then we traded for him, and then that was the end of the season. But fun game, really good. I haven't played any of the other 2K games. I'm not saying they're incredible, but we had a lot of fun with that one, and this is probably like a $2 game, so just let that hang with you. And I just remember we were hitting home runs with Pat Burrell like every other shot. Got so good pitching with Zito and Lincecum. Just really, really good times. All right, and then the last game we're going to talk about here, which is the reason why I'm covering so many less than stellar games this week, is a game that I've been told for the last decade I would love. I just haven't gotten around to playing it. I even picked up I didn't pick up the sequel. Jen bought me the sequel as a blind buy from GameStop, which turned out to be a really fun game that me and her enjoyed. And as someone who's not a huge South Park fan, I gotta tell you, South Park: The Stick of Truth, wow. For a game that you can find under $10, which is another one where it doesn't come with the manual, so it's just, if that's the case, it is complete with the game. So funny, so damn funny. And in my opinion, I enjoy the Dungeons and Dragons Wizard and Warrior motif far more than the superhero motif. So that was kind of the thing that had me not so hot on the Fractured Butthole. But the Stick of Truth, I've been laughing my ass off playing it. The combat removes the grid-based combat that's similar to Live Alive from Fractured Butthole. This one is much more of a traditional turn-based RPG. Kind of akin, I'd say it's more of akin to something like Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, because you always have one other companion, and the companion's very competent and stays leveled up similarly to you, but you don't have to mess with their gear. The only person's gear you mess with is yourself. And you have the ability to pay as whichever class you want. So they have Warrior, they have Wizard, they have Rogue, Thief, and then they have Jew, which I don't know what that class does. It's also the game that I believe that if you pick a darker skin color, the game is harder. Or that might have been the sequel. I don't know. But still, the kind of irreverent humor they have in the game. And I just remember going through, even when you're, like, Cartman introduces you to all this stuff, and you go through the different classes, and you go on to the Thief, and he's like, wow, a white thief, don't see too many of those these days, or a white fighter, oh man, I don't really think those are all that great, but hey, if it works. Or when you go to the Jew class, he goes, oh wow, I guess we can't be friends. Like, my God, just the fact that they're saying this stuff is just so off color and hilarious, and I just can't. I mean, the name of their clan, the Wizards clans, is the initials are KKK. You know, it's just the style of humor is just so ridiculous. It was so funny. But the combat itself is really fun because it takes and it borrows from that Mario RPG style where you'll pick an attack, but then during the attack you have a button prompt that can make the attack more potent, or allow you to do bonus damage, or allow you to do multiple attacks, or add debuffs. Same when you're on defense, you can then reflect damage, you can mitigate damage, and then sometimes you can even mitigate it so much that you then open up the enemy for a counterattack. So it's got very deceptively clever game mechanics, and when you're in battle, you can use an item or a healing spell and then still attack without ending your turn. So on some of the tougher battles where you're by yourself, you get in the habit of, and the healing spells are like bags of chips or sodas or, things that fourth graders would have. The outfits they have are things that fourth graders would have. Like, it's very, very smartly designed. And I like I said, people have been telling me for years to play this game. And it's like a 10 or 11 hour game. I am pretty far into it. I'm on night 2. I think there's 3 days, at least I'm assuming that. But just the hilarity of like going and having to find Jesus, and you find Jesus at the church, and the things like, you have found Jesus, and you get a text messaging app. But unlike the Fractured Butthole, there's nothing you have to do with it, and then you'll get random messages. So, like, for instance, Randy Marsh will message you and says, hey, if people give me a bunch of likes on this, I'll win a free iPad. And it says, Randy liked this message, and it's just... The humor is on point. I probably have not laughed as much since playing the other game, which is a shame that the new one they had come out this year, Snow Day, was a different style of game altogether. But yes, South Park, The Stick of Truth. Man, I'm an idiot for not picking it up sooner. But yes, there you go. There are 10 more games you should immediately go pick up before the prices go up. Because, yes, the prices, yes, they are more expensive than they were a year ago, but they are nowhere as near as expensive they were 6 months ago. And I've had some really great comments lately too, guys, to answer some of them. Because once again, I read all the comments, but I've noticed if I engage too much in my own comment sections, that seems to be a detriment. So I don't know. But one of the ones I saw was, would I be open to streaming some games and letting you guys interact and watch me play? Absolutely. I would love to do that. The problem right now is that I do not have a computer. My original goal for the Patreon I have right now was going to be saving up enough money to go buy a powerhouse computer that could actually stream. But then this Xbox 360 thing took off, and to be honest, I've had to buy a lot of games this year, guys. I had 72 Xbox 360 games when the year started. I am now over 300. So even if those games are at $5 a pop, which they haven't, I've had to do some investing in doing that. So that's where basically all the Patreon money has gone to buying Xbox 360 games. Same with anything I have gotten from the channel itself. Though that is something I would absolutely love to do. One of the things I think I thought of for the first stream would be doing a tier list. Because I've debated doing a tier list video of these, but it's going to be so long, and that might be a fun interactive one to do. But I just don't know how to do it. Same thing, I've had someone ask me about a Discord channel, or Discord server. I don't know how to run one of those damn things. I'm just a guy. I set one up this last week. We'll see if I can get it up and running and let you guys get access to it. But man, I don't know how to monitor that stuff. So if someone wants to help, please reach out. But yeah, love you guys. I hope you have a safe, wonderful Christmas, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all the stuff. Everyone, whatever you celebrate, please be safe, be merry, have a safe New Year. We'll see you one more time in 2024 next week. We might just do a best and worst of the year, covering everything I've played. So it may not be all Xbox 360, but don't worry, I'll tag it so it's 360, so it helps my recommendations go out. Because hey, gotta love it. If I'm the Xbox 360 guy, that's fine by me. I love the system. But yes, as a reminder, I release a new video every Tuesday. It's been so nice getting a hold of you. Take care.